Day 48 Reading Plan, CCC 396 to 409, Introduction. Today's readings focus on original sin and its impact on humanity. The Catechism explains how original sin was transmitted from Adam and Eve to all humans, resulting in a fallen nature, disordered desires, and a tendency toward sin. Despite the tragic consequences of the fall, Catholic doctrine emphasizes the hope for redemption through God's grace in Jesus Christ. 3 Original Sin CCC Text, paragraphs 396 to 409, these paragraphs provide a detailed explanation of original sin. The Catholic understanding is that original sin originated from the disobedience of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. Their choice to eat the forbidden fruit led to a rupture in their relationship with God, introducing sin, suffering, and death into the world. This sin has been transmitted to all human beings, with the exception of Jesus and Mary. The effects of original sin include a fallen human nature, concupiscence, a propensity to sin, and the loss of original holiness and justice. However, Catholic teaching also affirms that God's grace is greater than sin, offering salvation and restoration through Jesus Christ. Bible references, Romans 5:12-19, just as sin entered the world through one man, and death through sin, and in this way death came to all people because all sinned. For just as through the disobedience of the one man the many were made sinners, so also through the obedience of the one man the many will be made righteous. Questions. 1. What is the Catholic understanding of original sin? Original sin is the first sin committed by Adam and Eve, which caused the loss of original holiness and introduced sin and death into the world. This sin is transmitted to all humans, resulting in a fallen nature and a tendency toward sin. Despite its devastating effects, Catholic teaching emphasizes that God's grace, through Jesus Christ, offers the possibility of redemption and eternal life. Summary of Day 48. On Day 48, the Catechism delves into the doctrine of original sin, explaining its origin, transmission, and consequences for all humanity. Through Adam and Eve's disobedience, sin and death entered the world, affecting all human beings. However, Catholic doctrine stresses that God's grace and mercy through Christ offer humanity hope for redemption and the restoration of our relationship with God.
God created man in his image and gave him freedom within the framework of friendship. The command not to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil symbolized the necessary boundaries man must freely acknowledge, trusting in God's authority over moral and natural laws. Man, tempted by the devil, allowed distrust in God to grow and chose disobedience, thus committing the first sin. This act of disobedience would become the pattern for all subsequent sin, characterized by a lack of trust in God's goodness. In sinning, man preferred himself over God, rejecting his dependent status as a creature and the good God had intended. Though destined to share in divine glory, man sought to be like God on his own terms, independent of and against God. The immediate consequence of the first sin was the loss of original holiness. Adam and Eve's view of God became distorted. They now feared God as if he were jealous of his prerogatives, leading to a breakdown in their relationship with him. Original justice was shattered, inner harmony was lost, human relationships became marked by conflict, and harmony with creation was broken, making the natural world appear hostile. Death, foretold as the consequence of disobedience, entered human history. Sin spread after the first transgression, seen in events like Cain's murder of Abel and Israel's infidelities. Even after Christ's redemption, sin persists in the world. Both revelation and human experience confirm sin's universality and its distortion of human relationships with God and creation. All humanity is affected by Adam's sin, as explained by St. Paul. Sin entered through one man, leading to death for all, yet salvation also comes universally through Christ's righteousness. The Church teaches that humanity's inclination to sin and death stems from Adam's sin, which is passed down as the death of the soul. This belief underlies the practice of baptizing infants to cleanse them of original sin. Adam's sin affects all of humanity due to our unity with him. Original sin is inherited, impacting human nature by depriving it of original holiness, though it's a state rather than a personal act. Original sin, though not a personal fault, leaves humanity deprived of original holiness and justice, wounded and inclined to sin. Baptism removes original sin, though the effects of weakness and a tendency toward sin, concupiscence, remain. The Church's understanding of original sin developed notably in response to Pelagianism and Protestant Reformation ideas. St. Augustine emphasized that man requires grace, contrary to Pelagius's belief in human moral self-sufficiency. The Church formally defined the doctrine of original sin in the Councils of Orange and Trent. Original sin, tied closely to Christ's redemption, clarifies humanity's challenges. Through Adam and Eve's sin, the devil gained a form of power over humanity, though humans retain free will. Ignoring humanity's wounded nature, prone to evil, leads to grave errors in fields like education, politics, and social morality. The impact of original sin and individual sins contributes to a global state of sin, termed by St. John as the sin of the world. This includes both personal sin and the broader negative influences from social and communal structures shaped by sin. Humanity lives in a struggle, as the whole world is in the power of the evil one. Human history reflects an ongoing battle with evil forces, requiring courage and the grace of God to achieve integrity. This battle began at creation and will continue until the end of time.